Rasheeda is mad at the wrong person. The reason why we haven't been able to have a conversation is because you've held me accountable and not him. So I'm confused. Like, what are you so confused about?
Oh, okay, so she said telling the truth on you, so what's the truth?
What would be your truth? Because my truth is I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course you don't.
Whatever your truth would be, what is it? Like?
Of course you don't. Because you why would you tell that truth?
Even the strongest hearts have their breaking point, and Rasheeda had always been a symbol of strength, grace, and resilience. But there comes a time when even the toughest souls reach their limit. For years, she had endured the ups and downs of her relationship with her husband, Kirk Frost. Through all the cycles of betrayal, pain, and lies, the strain had finally taken its toll. Rasheeda was exhausted, and this time, there would be no turning back. This wasn't the first time Rasheeda had faced doubt and suspicion. Over the past few years, she had slowly come to realize that the man she had once believed she could trust completely, Kirk Frost had crossed a line that even her love couldn't heal. The whispers and rumors that had surrounded their marriage, once dismissed as just gossip, were now becoming all too real. One night, as she sat alone in their home, Rasheeda's worst fears were confirmed. Scrolling through her phone, she came across text messages exchanged between Kirk and Jasmine Washington. The messages weren't just flirtatious or harmless. They were intimate, raw, and heartbreaking. They showed a side of Kirk that Rasheeda had never imagined could exist, a side that was full of lies and betrayal. What struck her the hardest was not just the content of the messages, but the realization that the man she had trusted so deeply had no regard for her feelings or their marriage. For years, Rasheeda had been fighting for their relationship. She had dealt with the good and the bad, balancing their personal life, business ventures, and their children. But the constant betrayals were slowly wearing her down. She had been strong for so long, but now it felt like the foundation of their marriage was crumbling before her eyes. It wasn't just the affair itself that hurt. It was the ongoing pattern of deceit, the secretive behavior, and the complete lack of respect from Kirk. The affair with Jasmine Washington, the woman who had become a focal point in their relationship, struggles, was more than just a mistake. Rasheeda had known that Kirk had spent the night with Jasmine before, but now, seeing the explicit evidence in front of her, it felt like a harsh confirmation of everything she had feared. It was as if all the love and trust she had poured into their relationship meant nothing to him. As the reality of the situation sank in, Rasheeda felt a sense of betrayal so deep that it was almost unbearable. She had loved Kirk, truly and deeply, but now she couldn't deny that he had broken her trust in a way that was impossible to fix. No amount of apologies or promises could take away the pain of knowing that the person she had given her heart to had been hiding such a significant part of his life from her. It wasn't just the affair that hurt, but the repeated lies, the evasions, and the emotional distance that had grown between them over time. Rasheeda had spent years defending Kirk, trying to make their relationship work, but it felt like she was the only one putting in the effort. Every time she thought they were moving forward, something would happen to pull them back into the same cycle of hurt and disappointment. It had worn her down, and now she was exhausted. The idea of continuing to fight for a relationship that seemed so broken was no longer something she could do. At that moment, as she stared at the text messages, on her phone, something inside her snapped. The weight of everything she had endured over the years suddenly became too much to bear. She had given so much of herself to Kirk, but now she was realizing that she had nothing left to give. The love she had once felt for him was overshadowed by the anger and betrayal that had built up over time. Rasheeda knew that she deserved better than this. She had always prided herself on her strength, but she also knew when it was time to walk away. This wasn't the life she had imagined for herself, and it wasn't the relationship she had hoped for. She couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine when deep down she knew it wasn't. The truth was out now, and there was no going back. As painful as it was, Rasheeda knew that walking away from Kirk was the only way to protect herself. She had given him so many chances, but each time he had let her down. Now she had to let go of the hope that things could ever go back to the way they were. It was time to put herself first, to stop allowing his actions to define her happiness and her future. The years of heartbreak, the lies, and the endless cycle of betrayal had taken enough from her. For Rasheeda, this was no longer about saving her marriage or trying to fix something that was beyond repair. It was about finding peace, about reclaiming her own life and happiness. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she knew that it was the only way forward. The strength she had shown throughout the years wasn't just about enduring the pain. It was about knowing when it was time to move on and take control of her own destiny. As the days passed, Rasheeda began to feel a sense of freedom she hadn't felt in years. The weight of the betrayal still lingered, but she no longer felt the need to carry it alone. She was taking back her power, one step at a time. The healing process was going to be long, but she was ready to face it head-on. The woman she had once been, the woman who had loved with all her heart, was still there, and with time she would rebuild herself. Rasheeda was no longer going to be defined by her past or the man who had hurt her. She was ready to embrace the future, no matter how uncertain it might seem. Rasheeda's story is a reminder that even the strongest hearts have limits. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is let go, but it's often the only way to find the peace and happiness we deserve. Rasheeda's journey wasn't easy, but it was hers to walk, and she was finally ready to take the first step toward a new beginning. Rasheeda was overwhelmed by pain, yet in that moment she found a strange sense of clarity. She stood in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection, silently begging for forgiveness after each mistake she had made. There was a time when she couldn't imagine her life without Kirk. She had believed in him, in their love, in their future together. But now, the weight of his lies had become too much to carry. The love she had once felt for him hadn't vanished in an instant, but the trust that had been the foundation of their relationship had crumbled beyond repair. Despite the emotional turmoil she was going through, Rasheeda still respected the vows they had made to each other. She understood the importance of a marriage, of loyalty and commitment. It was the bedrock of any strong relationship. But with each passing day, the realization grew stronger within her that she couldn't keep fighting for something Kirk wasn't willing to fight for himself. She had given him countless chances to make things right, to change his ways, to show that he cared for her in the same way she cared for him. Yet, each time her hopes had been dashed. The love they once shared had turned into something unrecognizable. Rasheeda knew it was time to make a painful decision. The following morning, with a heavy heart, she decided she would no longer fight for a marriage that seemed destined to fail. She had tried and tried, but it was clear now that it was a battle she couldn't win alone. As much as she wanted to hold on, she had to let go. Kirk wasn't going to change, and she couldn't keep waiting for him to realize the damage he had done. There was only so much one person could do. When Kirk came home later that day, he found an empty space where Rasheeda's things had once been. The house that had once been filled with the sounds of their life together was now eerily silent. Rasheeda had packed up her belongings, her heart heavy but resolute. She knew this was the first step toward finding peace again. The life she had once shared with Kirk, the dreams they had built together, were no longer hers to hold on to. It felt like a part of her world had come crashing down, but deep inside she knew it was the only way to move forward. For so long, Rasheeda had hoped that things would get better, that Kirk would change and finally put her needs above his own. She had given him more chances than she should have, always believing that with time, things would improve. But now, as she gathered the last of her things, she realized that she couldn't keep holding on to a relationship that was only hurting her. She wasn't just walking away from Kirk. She was reclaiming her life, her dignity, and her future. She had spent so much of herself on him, on their marriage, but it was time to put herself first for once. Leaving Kirk wasn't just about ending a relationship. It was about rediscovering who she was, who she had always been deep down, beyond the role of the woman behind the man. For so long, Rasheeda had been defined by her connection to Kirk, by their shared life and the love they once had. But now, she was learning to define herself on her own terms. It was a journey of self-discovery, of reclaiming the parts of herself she had lost along the way. She had been so focused on trying to fix their broken marriage that she had forgotten about the woman she was before Kirk, the woman with dreams and aspirations of her own, the woman who deserved to be happy and fulfilled, not just in a relationship, but as an individual.